Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of The Probe. Tonight we focus our lenses reluctantly once again on Bawku. Reluctantly, I say, because it's a conflict that has become tiring because of how long it has lingered. It started as far back as 1951 thereabouts between the two royal rivals, the Mamprusis and Kusasis. Key concern tonight is the fact that more lives are being lost, and it does appear we are gradually losing count of the fatalities. And authorities there are almost losing control of the situation because they are being engaged in shootouts. The latest being the incident which the military says they responded to, that shootout by armed men in the area, which has led to the killing of 3 persons. Well, tensions are high in the area because, as the MC narrates, no one is safe in Bawku, and for that matter, no place can now be considered as a safe zone in Bawku. But where are these sophisticated weapons coming from, and who is responsible for the provision of same? How has the government of Ghana attempted to address or mediate the Bawku conflict over the period? Now, who are those benefiting from the Bawku conflict, and who is or who are funding this particular conflict that we talk about all the time? Do we have the political will to deal with it, or the beneficiaries will not permit that to happen? These and more are the questions begging for answers tonight here on The Probe as we focus once again on Bawku. We're live on the Joy News channel. We are live on Joy 99.7 FM for our radio audience. We're on myjoyonline.com, our YouTube channel, and all our social media platforms. On DSTV, we're on channel 421. On GoTV is 125. I am Emefa Apau, and this is The Probe. Time for a quick break, and then we start probing. Thanks for staying with us. And my guest tonight will be joining on the phone by the Upper East Regional Minister, Stephen Yakubu. I also have Sheikh Shaibu, spokesperson for National Chief Imam and member of the Peace Council as well. We have Amadou Hamza, the Municipal Chief Executive, also joining us along the line somewhere during the show. And thankfully also via Zoom, I have JB Asante, is the Deputy Director, Policy Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons. Dr. Victor Doke is a lecturer, Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research with the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. He's also a security analyst with extensive work on Bawku. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here on The Probe. And if you can hear me, I would want to welcome you so that at least I know that my connection to you is clear. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here on The Probe.
Thank you. Thank you, Mafa.
Okay, good to have you. Now, I also have with me my colleague, Albert Sori. It's only proper that I start with him so he puts everything in perspective. It's been 7 lives lost in a matter of 8 days in this renewed clashes. Albert, well, you've been monitoring the situation. Let's talk about the situation now as we speak. Has calm been restored to Bawku, we can say?
Yes, over the last 24 hours, we've not had any major incidents. From Wednesday all the way to Saturday, there appear to have been shootings and killings. However, today we have not experienced any killing. The town of Bawku has been relatively calm compared to the days before. Today, we've seen fewer people on the street, but that's also because maybe today was a Sunday, so a lot of people basically stayed indoors. Business was also quite dormant because a lot of shops didn't open. And then we had, we observed a significant number of, soldiers and other security personnel. There seemed to have been an increase in the number of security on the ground. But this is what usually happens in Bawku shortly after incidents like this.
And I suppose the curfew is still in place amongst others, but you've been seeing that statement from the Ghana Armed Forces. What's been the reaction by the indigents to this particular explanation that they've been giving? Because we know that they've raised concerns about the fact that the military were actually engaged in a shootout, killing those men deliberately amongst others. What's been the reaction following the military's statement, you'd say?
So for many of the people who live in the area where this incident happened, in Sabongari, which is almost in the center of Bawku, a lot of the people still insist, just like the member of parliament said, that these are innocent people who were killed. and that they did not engage the police, the soldiers in the shootout, as has been put in the statement that was released earlier today. Now, on the day after the incident, we actually had women who are relatives to these three men mobilize themselves and marched to the premises of the army base where some of the soldiers are to protest and to say that they don't want them anymore. We've seen interviews which came up when the bodies were released to the families for burial. Some of the relatives were interviewed and they insisted that the soldiers are not doing what is expected of them, and they had a whole lot of accusations against them in terms of how they are brutalizing and killing innocent civilians. As a matter of fact, initially they had refused as part of the protest that they were not going to accept the bodies, after they had these people had been killed, the bodies were handed over to the police. They were taken to the morgue and later released to the families for burial.
Okay.
But initially, from what we understand, the families, as a form of protest, said that they were not going to take the bodies for burial as a way of protesting what had happened. It had to take some leaders of the families to talk to the young men in the area who were leading this charge, who were making this protest before they changed their minds and took the bodies on Friday afternoon and subsequently buried them according to their religious principles.
Okay, and that's my colleague Albert Sorry there, painting a picture over the period on what's happened so far and what the situation is today. And of course, he's been pointing to a video about some women storming the military commander's home and raising concerns about the fact that they've been targeted, amongst others. We have videos of that will be showing along the line. But thankfully, also been joined on the line by the MCE for the area, Amadou Hamza. Thank you so much for your time. You've been engaging with us over the period since this particular, conflict broke out again. But from today, at least, you've been talking about the fact that you even lost a dear friend as a result of this latest clashes, amongst others. What would you say is the situation now? Is everything under control? And how are we hoping to sustain it?
Good evening, and good evening to the entire Joy News and the entire Ghanaians. So grateful to join the discussion. I can confirm to you that except a bus that was shot this morning at the hours between 9 to 10 o'clock, not too far from Bawku Secondary. This bus was moving to Bolgatanga with some little passengers, and an unknown assailant shot at the bus. Very fortunately, nobody was injured or hurt, and there are no recordings of death. I can confirm to you that generally, Bawku has been peaceful and very calm throughout the day. So at the moment, it's almost curfew hours, and people are moving into their homes, locking them up, and to stay calm. So I can confirm to you that throughout the day, Bawku has been very calm. Yesterday, Bawku has also been very calm. So we thank the Almighty Allah for this particular effort that myself, the security agencies, and the residents themselves have been putting the strategies and things in place to ensure that residents remain calm, and as far as this trying moment is concerned.
Well, we heard about a shooting at the prison of Bawku, for instance, pictures that we've been showing earlier. Really, what's the briefing on that particular incident?
This occurred 2 days ago, between the hours of 5 to 6 p.m., not too far from the municipal assembly. That a brother of mine is a mentally challenged person. He resides at the area known as Kosham. It's largely our community, that is the Moshi community. And he's a mentally challenged person. He was shot at by an unknown assailant. And the municipal assembly is about 100 meters away from the prisons. And the police office, the police divisional commander confirmed to me that those who actually came and perpetrated this injustice to the mentally challenged person did that, and stray bullet hit the prison, the entrance of the prison service in Bawku. Anybody who knows Bawku and knows the prison service, they would usually have 2 or 3 guards standing right in front of the prison service. Very fortunately, at the time that this happened, none of them were standing in front of the prison service. And so the bullet perforated the entrance and went into the counter of the prison service. And so largely the deceased body was picked up by the police. I had to call an uncle of mine who is an assembly man of the area to come for the deceased person. Subsequently, within that very evening, we did the burial. May his soul rest in peace. This morning, we conducted the adua for the mentally challenged person. May his soul rest in perfect peace. So that's what happened.
Well, the issue about weapons, something we'll come to, but at the last count, with this renewed clash, we have been counting at least. We got about 7 in the past 8 days alone. But you have the official figures. What does it look like? How many fatalities you would say, unfortunately, with this latest clash?
If you are the mentally challenged person, what I know officially is, I think that about 4 or 5 persons are dead, officially. Yes.
4 or 5 persons minus the 3 that were killed in that exchange with the military?
No, inclusive.
Okay.
Let me give you the correct calculation. 1 person died at Kolore. 2 persons died at the incident a venue where they shot at the police station where they shot those people. 1 died instantly. The following morning, the 17-year-old died, making the number 3. Good. Then, since Asabungari making it 6, the mentally challenged person is 7. Sorry. So this is the official figures we have. 7 persons died in the last 1 week.
Okay. Well,
and 5 are injured. 5 are injured and they are responding to treatment at 2 hospitals in Bawku.
Well, but the concern is going forward, what measures have been put in place now that you are very excited that calm has been restored to the area? Hopefully, it will not be short-lived. What's the measure that you say we put in place? Because many are concerned about where these indigents are getting the sophisticated weapons that are in existence in Bawku, where exactly they are getting it from, and what exactly are the measures that we are putting in place to ensure lasting peace in Bawku?
You see, the police and the military are not different from those police and the military in Accra and Kumasi and Takoradi and the rest of the places. It is the same police and soldiers that go to do peacekeeping outside. The same methodologies and strategies put out by these police and military officers are the same strategies they are doing in Bawku. The situation in Bawku really needs a comprehensive approach. Why do I say a comprehensive approach? It is the duty of we, the citizenry in Bawku, to act strictly by ensuring that we cooperate with the security to ensure there's lasting peace in Bawku.
What's the difficulty in cooperating with the security as it stands now?
The difficulty is the lies that we create. Every single tribe in Bawku tries to protect its own. Our job as politicians, I am the chairman of the Municipal Security Council. What I do basically is to chair the Municipal Security Council. What do? I receive reports from the various security agencies in Bawku. And when I receive those reports, it is the law, the Securities and Intelligence Act, gives me the power to receive those reports from them. So when I come out and speak, When I speak, I am speaking based on the report that I got from the security agencies. But you will find that when you speak, one tribe that is affected by your speech is against you. I recall the other time that 3 persons were neutralized at the Mampushi areas. The Mampushis were all out against me. They wrote all the things against me. It is time that we have to come out to speak. The Pusasis are against me. I don't care. I'm a leader, and I'm going to ensure that I do the right thing. Look, my own uncle was shot in Patilme, including another person. The 2 of them, my direct uncle was shot just because of just breaking curfew hours. I have to ensure that I come out to speak the same language that I'm speaking. So our job basically as politicians is a very difficult one, especially in Bawku, that this is the truth. You must come out and you want to speak the truth. People are against you. But I have no percent at all about that.
But what would you say? What would you say? What would you say, Mr. Amadou? What would you say to those who are of the view that you politicians are the ones benefiting from this particular conflict, and you don't want it to end?
Largely, you see, it is time for us to put politics aside and face it, and say that look, Kusasis are our fathers, our mothers. Mampushis are our fathers and our mothers. There's a need for us to come together. Look, if you read the wording in Article 35 plus 5 of the 1992 Constitution, the Constitution therefore enshrines, and it is trying to ensure that the people of Ghana live in harmony, they coexist together, irrespective of whether your tribe, your race, your social standing, your economic status. It is not the case that Kusasi should be treated differently, Mampushi should be treated differently, Moshi should be treated differently. It is the case that we must work together to ensure there's lasting peace. And that is exactly the reason why I, from the beginning, was fighting that the segregation of the market shouldn't happen. I'm not doing that to benefit anybody. I want Mampushis and Kusasis to be in the same market, and I want them to be trading and talking to each other every single day. That is the only thing that can bring them broker peace between the 2 factions.
Okay. Mr. Amadou Hamza, we are grateful. We'll leave it here for now, and as and when we ought to come back to you, we definitely will do that. And I'll go to my guest on Zoom. And I'll start with you, Sheikh Shaibu. I'm particularly happy that you hold 2 positions and you're with us on the show tonight. At least you're with the Peace Council and also spokesperson for the National Chief Imam. Really, what's been the briefing that you are getting from the 2 organizations that you represent tonight? What exactly is the briefing that you are getting in terms of this renewed conflict in Bawku? You'd have to unmute, Sheikh.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity and the chance also to at least also make a contribution in finding a solution to this problem that has been with us for all these years. Truly, it's a disturbing situation. We are getting briefing about the breakdown of security, targeted killings that are going on. The Regional Peace Council is, if you like, at its wit's end to be able to really find solution to this problem. We from the National Peace Council here have traveled on several occasions to Bawku. We have met with the Bawku Naba. We have met with him and the chief of the Mampusi community also in Bawku. At the time, our target was to plead with them to cease fire and to allow all the processes put in place to ensure that we are able to find lasting solution to the problem. It appears to me during the time, we got some cooperation. Unfortunately, just not too long after we have left the place, we heard about a renewed tension where some people have been killed. We made the second attempt. We reached Bolga, where we were advised that it was not safe for us to travel to Bawku at the time. So we have to remain at Bolga and then fly back and travel back to Tamale and then back to Accra. But before we came, we had a chance to meet the regional police commander, who also gave us some briefing about exactly the situation down there. One of the things that he told us, which we find very, very disturbing, is about the availability of sophisticated weapons. That availability itself serves like a motivation. The source of those sophisticated weapons, we are unable to tell where they are coming from. It appears that there are different, there are many of the members of both Kusasi and Mamprisi that are spread in other parts of this country and also outside the country, who may also be having their contributions towards their various communities. But we are unable to say with surety that where the source of those weapons are coming from. Thirdly, we also were aware that there was what we call the Bawku Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee. At the time we traveled to Bawku, it was in session, very operational. But afterwards, we also got the information that one section of the committee representing one of the conflicting communities had decided to withdraw from the Bawku Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee. And so that stalled the operation of the Bawku Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee. And then from then on, sporadically, we hear some target killings and so on and so forth. So it's a very disturbing situation. The situation now over there is that there is so much suspicion. The environment is so toxic with so much suspicion, very heightened one. Availability of sophisticated weapons all over the place. Economic activities are no more going on. Social services have also been affected, and it is worsening the situation there. So that is at least our picture of what is happening there, which is very, very disturbing. We are worried. Even as we find ourselves here, whatever happens in Bawku does affect us, and we are so worried and hope that as we engage on this particular platform, we could send some messages, hopefully, if we really can cease fire and allow processes that will ensure a lasting solution to this problem is arrived at.
Well, we know that the Peace Council, to a large extent, becomes the very last resort to seeking peace in any particular situation. And to the extent that it appears that it's broken down, and at least the Office of the National Chief Imam, I'm sure, has some intervention when it comes to this particular conflict. Would you say it's a hopeless situation, considering the fact that it looks like all avenues are broken down in terms of finding peace in the area? We are seeing clashes with security officials leading to shootouts, leading to killings amongst others. And you talked about the suspicions. Really, is the Bawku conflict a hopeless situation, or you feel that there is definitely hope when it comes to this situation?
Well, we would not want to go to the extent where we say it's a hopeless situation. But in any crisis situation, we still will have to look into the future with some hope. We are hoping that as we think through it, we'll be able to find the elements that are so important and critical and central to this whole conflict, whose cooperation we can seek and plead with them to listen to us. I remember at one time, in fact, the chief imam was briefed completely about the situation. He was so worried about it. Indeed, the Peace Council, reached out to the chief imam and requested if he could even travel to Bawku to meet his own grandchildren and grandchildren and granddaughters and just talk to them. And the simple message was that any single person who is killed among the Kusasi or the Mampri is either a grandson to the chief imam or his son. So through this long conflict, chief imam is losing his own children. In fact, he has been worried about it. There's no single social or religious ceremony that we have organized that the chief imam has not isolated the issue of Bawku for prayer, that we pray. And he's still looking for opportunity, that if opportunity comes, that it is possible for him to travel at least to meet them and say, look, my children, my grandchildren, any one of you who is killed is my part of me is my own children. You are my grandchildren. So I lose my own grandchildren and children through this conflict. So help me to ensure that we cease fire, and then we have an opportunity to look into the case, and probably by God's favors, we'll be able to find solutions. So I will not say it's a hopeless situation. We are still exploring opportunities. If the opportunity comes and it is possible and the people there will cooperate, I will not go against the idea that the chief imam travels, meet them face to face with a simple message that he has come to plead with them, to put down, to silence the gun and allow the processes to go so that we can find solution to the problem.
On the issue about silencing the gun, I'll bring in Mr. J.B. Asante, but I want you to ponder over this particular question about who the beneficiaries of this conflict are and the political involvement and the will to be able to deal with it. But Mr. J.B. Asante, silencing the gun, really, we've been talking about guns and the sophisticated weapons that are available in Bawku. We know about searches that have been conducted, but yet every renewed conflict, we see sophisticated weapons in use in Bawku. Really, are you able to tell, have you been able to fathom where these weapons are coming from and who is behind it?
Okay, thank you very much, Emefa. The Bawku situation, it's very, very unfortunate. And this is what we have been trying to prevent or avoid on a large scale. So the issue of the weapons, the kind of sophisticated weapons that have been discovered as being used in this conflict. Definitely, these are not conflicts that are coming from the country, because we do not manufacture such weapons in this country. And I don't also want to believe that these are weapons that are leaking from our state armories. But we know, as we've always been saying, the porous nature of our borders, and we know how close Bawku is close to the border. And we know of our neighboring countries, what has happened there, and other countries in the Sahel, where weapons are bound, and so they find their way into the country and into that part of the country. And obviously, people go for this weapon with specific targets or objectives to fuel the conflict that is going on in Bawku. So others died yesterday, and obviously belonging to one section of the factions that are fighting. And so the next time it will be a time for them to avenge the death of a relative or a loved one. And so that is how come we are having this cycle of conflict in Bawku, with people dying almost every day or most of the time when the conflict is happening. It's a very serious situation. As we speak now, it will actually take the people of Bawku to bring the peace that we all seek. They are the people who started the conflict, and it will take them to end the conflict. Like you said, I think I heard this morning, or was it yesterday in the morning? I think yesterday in the morning on Newsfile, I heard Samson talk to one of the people in authority there. I'm not too sure if it was the MC, who said that the military have gone into homes to search for weapons, but they didn't find any, which confirmed the point that you've been making, that obviously the people who are using these weapons are smart people. They won't keep their weapons at home for you to come and find these weapons. They know where to keep these weapons, you see. And he talked about silencing the gun. Human beings are using these guns. And just as Sheikh said, I mean, it's time for them to understand that, I mean, we are one people. We are brothers and sisters. Why do we want to continue killing one another? We must be able to come to the round table and talk. The suspicion, I believe, just as was said earlier, is becoming too much. They need to, I mean, find a solution to this. So what we heard Otunfo start between these factions, we are hoping that that is something that will continue. And we all need to give the needed support that must be given. Because until the people of Bawku decide to lay down the arms and silence the guns, little can be done to bring peace in Bawku. So the situation as it is now, there is curfew, the security are there, they are alert to make sure that the trouble causes, are brought to book. And this cannot continue forever. As we speak, we even intended to establish an office at Bawku. But looking at the situation, it is difficult to do that. So we have an officer, for example, in Bolga, who oversees Bawku. And we're even planning some public education and sensitization. How do you even go there to do this kind of public education for this kind of situation? So it's unfortunate. The weapons are already in Bawku. And as it is now, it is quite difficult because the weapons are already there. So
but the question really is, these are sophisticated and very expensive weapons, Mr. J.V. Asante. You've talked about the fact that they are not manufactured here. At least these are very expensive weapons. Are you saying, at least from all the work that you've done over the period, these indigents are able to afford these weapons by themselves?
That is a good question to ask because we all know these weapons, it takes a lot of money to procure them. So that is why others have suggested that probably we have some conflict entrepreneurs who are benefiting from these conflicts. It is difficult for us to know these people as a commission. And I don't know whether others have done research to really find out the people who are really behind this conflict, whether it's a politician or whether it's some businessman somewhere. It's difficult for us to tell, but I think it is time for all of us to understand if what we are saying is really true. Because, looking at the average young man in Bawku and looking at the type of sophisticated weapons they are using, you are right in saying that, are they really able to afford these weapons or people? To what extent? So I think if you have people who are guilty of that, it is time that we all try as much as possible to put a stop to this, because it could be your own loved one who will be dead tomorrow. And I don't think the people of Bawku want to kill, one another for what. So if you also know that someone is supplying the weapons to you to go and do what you are doing, or to cause the kind of mayhem that you are causing, I think it is time you put a stop to it. Okay. Think about yourself. Think about your people. Think about the old people, think about the children, the women, the vulnerable, and it is time to
Okay. Well, it looks like we are losing the connection to Mr. JB, but I would want you to ponder on the issue about the arms for cash and whether it's a good time to bring it back amongst others. Is there a way of, depriving the people of these sophisticated weapons, and whether it will be a way to actually resolving this particular conflict? But Dr. Doke has done extensive work when it comes to the Bawku situation. He's also with us on Zoom. Doc, I'm wondering, really, are the people today fighting for the same reasons that their forebears fought in the 1951, amongst others? Has it mutated? What exactly are today's people fighting over? What exactly is happening when it comes to this particular conflict?
Well, thank you, MFR. And then let me say hello to all the other guests on the show. Now, straight to your question, whether if it has mutated or it's the same thing, or what has changed with regards to the dynamics. We all know the root cause has been the chieftaincy. Mm-hmm. That won't go away. Now, over the years, we've had what we call proximate factors that have also added to the dynamics of this particular conflict. What are they? Now, one, you have these two coexisting for some time, and then they are adversaries. You have the Mampusis complaining that they cannot celebrate their festivals peacefully because they've been asked to go to the Burkina to seek permission, which they don't want to do. Now you have the Kusasis also saying, this is our land. You have to revere and respect a chief. Therefore, it is only right for you to come and seek permission to celebrate your festival, so that directives will be given to you as to where you have to go on your march or whatever the right you have to perform, And even if there are support we have to give to you, we give to you, because that's what the other ethnic groups do. But this does not sit well with the Mampusis. Now, we have the political side also, which we all know. Who benefits? That's a big question that we would look at getting onto the show. So now, the aspect of one important thing that we are overlooking is there was a time when the conflict was supposed to be declared over with regards to the performance of a traditional rite called the Okro ceremony. Other rites were performed, cleansing and whatnot were done, but at the last stage, the Mampusis opted out and said this was not their culture. But what did we do, okay, as institutions, as stakeholders, to ensure that what exactly will sit well for the Mampusis to come and say, this is what we are comfortable with, let's go ahead with it and declare the conflict over? I think this is what the stakeholders need to look at going forward. There are a lot of things that have come in now. For example, until the traditional rite is performed and the conflict declared over, people cannot access their farms because there has been embargo on accessing farms. That alone is a way of bringing unity. But then when livelihoods of people are not in existence, then it causes problems. Let's look at the other aspect of wanting to be revered. Is there a way we can actually let these people know that, okay, well, this is what you think. You don't want to revere me, but then I'm ready to coexist with you. But this is what you have to go henceforth. It is all about laying down the rules and regulations, coming together peacefully. Let's look at how we can now bring the Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee. Now, Sheikh mentioned the fact that one party opted out. That has been the trend for some time. This has been happening. So you have the committee sort of like non-existent. They had a consortium of NGOs in 2000s, came out with recommendations to set up a secretariat for the committee to be very effective. And that was supposed to give the committee the upper hand to resolve issues like farmlands, issues like festival celebrations and whatnot. So if the committee is not being resourced to work, all these issues are hanging. They get compounded, people are aggrieved, people feel they are not getting justice, and what happens? People take up arms against each other. So yes, chieftaincy is a main issue, but we know per the law, the ruling with regards to that. So if one party feels aggrieved, then we just have to encourage them to take the litigation aspect for the process, because we are a law-abiding country and we don't just get up to do anything. So if I feel aggrieved and then the law courts are there, I can assess it. Now, we have one important dynamics. Last year on 16th February, there was an escapement of a rival chief that happened in Narulegu. That incident has changed the dynamics of the Bawku conflict, which we need to look at. Now, if we are supposed to go by the law, then we have to look at tackling that issue and dealing with it. We can have a very diplomatic way of dealing with it for the gentleman or whoever to denounce it. And then now we know, because as of now, with the existence of that gentleman, you are sure that the Kusasis will not rest, because they don't know what is going to happen with regards to whether the gentleman will be sneaked into Bawku and now declared as a rival chief or not. So all these dynamics add up to create or heighten the tension. The youths get the weapons through our porous borders. They know the links where they get the weapons. You have kingsmen who sit in Accra supporting them and whatnot. They themselves are scattered all over Accra, don't forget. So they are in link. They communicate each and every day. So it becomes easy for them. We need to strengthen the checks in our borders, okay? Now, you have young men who have worked so hard. The little funds they get, because of mistrust amongst them, they resort to purchasing of arms. because then they do not know when the other side would attack them. So we look at all these issues and then we ask ourselves, to what end?
Yeah.
Resourcing the National Peace Council is very critical. We heard what Sheikh said. Now, when was the last time the NPC conducted even a preventive approach mechanism or evaluation to know, even sensitization or awareness? We don't know. The civil society organizations there, are we giving them the support? The Beli Musa Development Agency, who is the focal peace building facilitator for the Okwita Ethnic Peace Committee. What capacity are we building for these personnel to now also impact on the committee members, for the committee members to go now into their communities and then sensitize and then create awareness against the use of arms? Okay. This is what we need to look at holistically.
Well, I'm told that we have an intervention from Hassan Ayariga. I'll get to him shortly, but let me bring you back, Sheikh, on this issue about the political involvement. You had the issue about their kinsmen being in Accra, some of them also, helping them out and all that. The beneficiaries of this particular conflict, really, it's come to be known that the Kusasis are NDC affiliated, Mamprusis MPP affiliated, some things that really we don't like to talk about. But from your dealings with this, the political involvement, how are we tackling it from that angle, you'd say?
But it's been said, it is observed that politicians, have been involved in this matter. Whenever there's a change of government, one group thinks that our government is in now and we can get what we want. But because of the sensitivity of the matter, we try to avoid not to be bringing in the political element, but only to advise politicians, to advise politicians, especially politicians that hail from that part of the country, to see the issue of Bawku as a large regional whole problem that requires the input of both MPP MPs and NDC MPs. In fact, they need a certain united front to be able to confront this problem. That is the only means by which they can, if you like, diffuse the politics of it. Because once they don't come together, and sometimes when they speak in public or on the floor of parliament, sometimes the body language and the tone of the discussion is send certain messages to their own people up there, and it doesn't help the situation. So, and then secondly, it appears to me that even with the media, we should stop even bringing in and interviewing these politicians, because anytime you interview a politician, he wants to speak in a certain way that suits a certain section of the community. But that experts in peace are those that, and then other, if you like, stakeholders within the community that work for peace are those that should be brought in the forefront for us to be able to work against this. The media. For example, we know that the media in Bawku, we have been told that sometimes there are certain radio stations, they are divided among themselves. A radio station is more affiliated or inclined towards Kusasi, another radio station is more inclined to Mamprusi, and the toxic messages they send across is enough to incite the people and still keep their emotions high, tension rises, and we are unable to really solve this problem. So I would wish that we really get our politicians from the northern part of the country to establish a certain united front where both NDC and MPP and other political parties who are MPs are now talking collectively about the situation and how the situation is dire and the circumstance that is putting the people of Bawku in. For example, there's one of the painful things I like to share. Very, very young girls, beautiful young girls who have the potential to rise and to become good teachers, good nurses, MPs, and so on, are made to run away from Bawku to come down to Accra here. And when they come, you know where they sleep? They do come to do kaya. They sleep in front of shops, along the street. Yes. And men come to rape them. They give birth to children on the street. Feed them on the street, raise them on the street. And these children, when they grow, what do they go from? I have engaged the service of a young girl and I think she's from that part of the country. She's can become my daughter. Yeah. I asked her to carry my things. I asked her, how much should I pay you? What this girl told me, I mean, I felt so sad. She asked me to give her 5 cedis, and I gave her as much as 50 Ghana cedis. Because I thought, so for this 5 cedis, she's carrying this heavy loads. So that's the plight of our young girls who are running. Schools are not opening. Hospitals are not in operation. Business is stalled, and poverty situation is getting aggravated. These are the situations that we want the politicians to put their minds to, and collectively, without the political divide, now talk about these things so that we can bring some relief. I want to.
Would you recommend a naming and shaming at this point when there are politicians who are have their hands in there underground? Once they come to light, would you recommend naming and shaming of these persons?
You see, the naming and shaming sometimes, for those of us who are peace activists, we are very particular about what we say in public, so that it doesn't undermine our strategy to want to bring the warring factions together at a round table. Once you pass judgment, next time you are calling the person, you are not getting him, and the situation gets more and more aggravated. So we prefer that we identify such people, and then probably behind the scenes call them and draw their attention to the evils and the negative impact of what they are doing, so we can speak to their conscience and get them to change in their mindset, and also influence the mindset of those people who are there. Young people who could become great people are losing their education. They are becoming more and more poor. They can't go to the farm. They cannot make money. And yet people from far away somewhere are sponsoring these sophisticated weapons that we are talking about.
Okay. Well,
almost every day somebody is dying.
Yeah. Well, one such politician, at least, you've been talking about politicians and their involvement in this, and how they can also play a role for lasting peace in this conflict. Like I said, we have an intervention from Hassan Ayariga, as the founder of APC, as a political party here in Ghana. We are grateful for your time. I know that one part of you comes from one side, the other also from one side, in terms of the feuding factions in this particular conflict. It's a renewed conflict. You must be worried. I'm sure you have a message for your people when it comes to this particular renewed conflict. Mr. Ayariga.
Good evening to you, and good evening to our cherished listeners and viewers. Actually, I am a native of Bawku, and I am from both sides. My father is a Kusasi, and my mother is a Mampusi. So I find myself in between the two. That even when I speak, one faction will say, "Oh, he's supporting this one." When I cough, the other faction says, "No, I'm supporting the other one." So I've been mute, working underground with the security agencies, with government and authorities, with the chief of Bawku to bring lasting peace to Bawku. But I must be sincere that we need to tell the truth. If we ignore the truth, we will never be able to find lasting solutions to Bawku. And the truth is, who are the descendants of Bawku? And that must be clear, whether it's coming from government, or it is coming from interpretation of the court, or it is coming from history or precedent. Until we are able to lay our hands on such documentation and evidence, to be able to say to both factions, look, this is the data, this is the truth of the matter, these are the individuals, these are the world owners of Bawku. Until we are able to do that, we can never find lasting solutions to this Bawku conflict. I was a young man growing up. I witnessed war at age 6, shooting in the market, and I had to run and hide somewhere. A Mampusi man took me home and dropped me with my brother. I have seen this over and over and over again, and there's no ending to it. And we cannot sit down and say that when NDC is in power, it will go off. When NPP comes back to power, it will start again. This is not the way forward. The way forward is that, what is the data? What is the matter? What is the truth of the... Let's all sit down. Let's face each other face to face. Bring out the documentation that says that these are the real owners of Bawku, or these are not. And we judge to find a solution.
But have we not moved past who owns Bawku at this point? These people have coexisted for a number of years. And the problem is, these are some of the things that sparks the conflict over and over again. Is that not the case?
That is the case. But the point is that we keep saying it, that these are the owners of Bawku. Yet, certain group of people get authority to do things that they are not supposed to do. And they are unable, they break the rules and regulations and the traditions of the other part. And that is the problem. And that also has to, it draws my attention to the issue of Facebook, Twitter. The comments and the videos the youth are all sending on Facebook, Twitter. The issue of equalization. Today, they will send pictures of somebody, so we killed him. And the other people too will send another picture on another picture, so we also neutralize it. This has been the issue. And I've made it clear to government. If we cannot stop those people from using Facebook, monitor WhatsApp, arrest these people, radio stations that use their platform to make so many derogatory messages and send some kind of annoying text messages, we will never ever have peace in Bawku.
Okay.
And whether somebody is benefiting or not, for me, I think that the military are doing well, but sometimes I think they do overboard. Because currently, if I want to look at the statistics, the military has killed more people than the Bawku conflict itself has done.
This is unfounded data, at least from where we sit, because I would have to end it here, Mr. Yariga. We'll really have to leave it here at this point. We are grateful for your time, but that intervention, the bit about the military and all that, because we've heard statements, at least we've read statements from the military and account on the ground also in terms of the military being engaged in shootouts amongst others, for which reason they have to defend the people of Bawku and themselves as well as security personnel. At least, that must be clear at this point. But Mr. JB, the issue about the arms for cash and whether it worked and whether it's time to introduce it, maybe briefly we can touch on that, then we can wrap up on this. Hello, Mr. JB.
Okay, yes, thank you very much, Emifa. The arms for cash. Yes, I know in the past, some years back, it was tried and it didn't work. And if you remember, a doctor said something important, that because they are suspicious of each other, they are all trying to guard themselves because they don't know when the other faction is going to strike. And so now, as we speak, if the weapons that they have is so dear to them that no amount of cash you offer to them will make them willing to bring the weapons. Either they are bringing the weapons for cash that can buy a more sophisticated weapon, so they will be in a better position to fight their opponent better. But if not, they will not bring it. And as a strategy, we even say that arms for cash is not something that should be encouraged, because usually before anybody will bring the weapon for cash, like we've said, it's either because you'll be able to buy a more sophisticated weapon or probably buy 2 weapons, if not. And also not in a situation where there is conflict. Unless there is perfect peace, there is so much trust in the system, and they are so sure that they actually don't need the weapons anymore. In that case, probably they will consider bringing the weapon for cash. But currently, as we speak, and looking at the situation at Bawku, it is a very difficult strategy to adopt.
Okay. Well, Doctor, the issue is also about the will. We've called on the people themselves to also act in terms of wanting this conflict to end. But politically, do we have the will? Security-wise, do we have the will? And the people themselves, really, where are we when it comes to the will to be able to end this conflict? You'd have to unmute.
Politically, we have the will in a sense that, yes, the central government has taken steps. Okay. Now, one of the steps is just bringing in the men in uniform, on the grounds there, patrolling, making sure that these two groups do not clash.
But at least you've seen that the men in uniform are not trusted anymore, at least by the people from the pronouncements.
Exactly, because of what has been happening. So then that gives us the opportunity as central government or state institutions, to now look at what is going wrong. How can we then now come in and give the men in uniform a needed capacity, okay, training or what sort, to now collaborate and engage the youth more on a peaceful level. So the youth would not now see us as enemies. How can we then use a different approach? So when we even apprehend people, we hand them over to the police for investigations to begin. Okay, there are so many ways we can deal with this. So we do not create a heightened tension in the town. Now, the other will that we are talking about is the investment when it comes to the funds, when it comes to the capacity building, the training, to the mandated state institutions with regards to conflict resolution. Example, the National Peace Council. How can we garner the civil society organizations to come together like we did years back? Give them the resources. They are on the ground. They know the in and outs and how to approach it. That is the will that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Until we do that, we will always be looking at the one side and investing more, which is taking in the men in uniform, which is draining the state coffers, and then leaving the other side, civil society. But we need a civil society engagement more than anything else.
Okay. I'll give you 30 seconds, Sheikh Arimiya, at least directly to speak to the people. I know they watch Tory News a lot. Maybe directly a message to them, then we can wrap up.
I mean, thank you very much. And I also belong to that community. So these are my own people. Any person who is killed around us is my own kind, or my own brother who's been killed. The chief imam also connects very much with that community. And any person who is killed there is either a son or a grandson to the national chief imam. And I use the voice of the national chief imam to call on the people of Bawku. They must consider, because they are largely Muslims, and I want to call them to look at the spirit of peace as established in our own language. And the greetings that we have that we greet Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. They should look at this and look at peace as part of the virtues and values of Islam. And one, silence the gun. Break the cycle of vengeance. Break the cycle of vengeance.
Okay.
Sound more conciliatory. Let's explore opportunity for negotiated peace and through dialogue, so that as we do so, we'll be able to reach. But I want to call on all of them that we are from down here. We want to call on them that we join them in the pain that they are going through, but that let's also through together.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. I'll have to leave it here. We are grateful for your time, Sheikh Shaibu, so a spokesperson for the National Chief Imam and member of the Peace Council. We also had Dr. Victor Doke, also had J.V. Asante with the Small Arms Commission. I'm grateful for your time, gentlemen, tonight here on The Probe. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am MFR Pau. Another edition of The Probe comes your way, same time. Have a good evening.